Paper boats. Tonight we visit a quiet stream that winds through a gentle green valley, where someone sits by the bank, folding simple paper boats and setting them loose on the clear water. You'll drift along beside them in your imagination, watching each little boat float past stones, roots, tiny animals, and evening light as the stream carries them slowly away. The path to the stream is narrow and friendly, pressed down by many careful footsteps. Dry leaves lie flattened into the earth, soft under your shoes, and thin blades of grass lean over from the edges as if they want to see who is passing. Ahead, you hear water before you see it. A steady, delicate sound, like someone quietly sorting through small glass beads in a shallow bowl. When you step out from between the trees, the stream appears, clear and bright, sliding over a bed of pale stones. The surface moves in smooth, long ripples, broken only where the current folds around a larger rock. The air here is cooler, touched by the water's breath. Somewhere behind you, a bird gives a short, curious call, and then falls quiet again. On the near bank, a flat patch of moss and grass makes a natural seat. Beside that spot is a little stack of folded paper, ready to become boats. You sit down and pick up a sheet from the stack. The paper is smooth and light, the edges pressing a faint line into your fingertips. It's the kind of slightly stiff paper that keeps a crisp fold, bending with a soft, dry sound. As you crease the first corner, you can feel each fold lock into place, the layers becoming more solid under your thumbs. Little triangles appear, then disappear, then become something else as your hands follow the familiar pattern. A pointed bow takes shape, a neat little hull, a narrow open space in the middle where the air slips through. When you're finished, the boat sits in your palm, so light that the breeze almost tries to lift it. The paper is plain, but under the shifting light, it holds faint shadows, like barely visible ripples, already printed on its sides. You hold it close to the water for a moment, letting the stream's coolness brush your skin. You lean forward and set the boat down on the surface. At first it clings to your fingers, water gathering around your skin in a thin silver film. Then it lets go and settles, the hull biting lightly into the water with a tiny sigh. The boat wobbles once, twice, as if testing its balance, then steadies itself. The current catches it almost at once and pulls it into a smooth glide. Around the boat, the water bends in delicate V-shaped lines, faint shadows stretching from its bow. As it moves, the paper reflects bright patches of sky, a shifting pattern of pale blue and soft white drifting across its sides. You watch the little wake behind it, the way the surface closes again, as if zipping up a seam. It drifts past a small stone that barely breaks the surface, the flow lifting it gently over without a sound. You fold another boat, and another, until a quiet little fleet is resting on the water nearby. Some are made from plain paper, some from old pages with tiny letters that blur into grey texture from this distance. One has a narrow band of colour along one edge from a magazine photo, a bright green stripe that looks like a painted hull. Launched one after another, they form a slow procession, each boat taking its own path, but never moving very far from the others. The stream rearranges them with a light touch, easing one forward, holding another back, then switching them again as the current curls around hidden stones. From above, the little boats look like white leaves that have decided to keep their shape. When they rotate, you see different angles of their folds, sharp and clean against the soft motion of the water. The stream accepts each new boat without fuss, widening its ripples just enough to make room. Beneath the surface, the stream bed is bright and inviting. Pebbles the size of marbles and walnuts lie scattered across the bottom, in colours that are easy to name and easy to picture. Beige, grey, soft brown, a few rusty red ones. Some stones are perfectly smooth and oval. Others are chipped in small, satisfying ways that catch the light. In the shallows, sand forms thin ripples, like lines drawn with a fingertip. Here and there, a fallen leaf has settled under the water, pressed flat like a paper cutout, its veins dark and clear. The moving water slides over all of it, making the stones shimmer as though the stream is quietly breathing. When a boat glides above, its shadow travels across the pebbles, a faint ghost shape that stretches and shrinks as the surface shifts. Sometimes the boat's reflection appears more solid than the boat itself, a white, slightly blurred double floating just beneath it. Along the banks, grasses grow in thick clumps, leaning out, then curving back toward the earth under their own weight. Some blades dip the very tips of their leaves into the water, drawing faint lines along the surface before lifting again. A few tall, thin plants with tiny white flowers sway slowly, their stems moving with a gentle delay after each breath of wind. Tree roots twist down into the bank like patient fingers, holding the soil in broad, knotted grips. Between the roots, the earth is dark and damp, studded with small shells, old twigs, and fragments of bark softened by time. Ants travel along a narrow path between two stones, carrying pieces of leaf that look oversized against their small bodies. Near your foot, a beetle with glossy black wings clambers over a fallen leaf, pauses at the edge, and then navigates down, as if it has been doing this exact route for years. All the while, the stream keeps sliding by, paying quiet attention to everything it touches. A dragonfly appears, almost without warning, its wings a transparent blur of fine lines. It hovers above the water for a moment, adjusting its position with sharp, tiny movements that make the air click faintly. Its body is a long, narrow bar of colour, a deep metallic blue that shifts to green when it turns. It zips forward, then stops again, directly over one of the paper boats, casting a thin, precise shadow across the hull. For a few seconds, it rides along with the boat, matching speed perfectly so that they seem connected. Then it settles on the bow, the weight so small that the boat barely reacts. From where you sit, the dragonfly looks like a tiny, proud figurehead on the ship's front. After a short ride, It lifts off again, wings catching the light and scattering it in structured flashes, before it disappears toward the far bank. The boat continues on alone, but the patch of water it crossed still seems to remember that brief extra color. In the deeper part of the stream, small fish move like drifting commas. Their bodies are slender and quick, with backs that are dark enough to blend into the patches of shadow, and bellies that flash pale when they roll. They gather near the places where the current slows, pointing upstream and keeping their position with tiny, constant adjustments of their fins. As a boat passes over them, some of the fish scatter sideways in a quick silver burst, then regroup a little further on. One curious fish rises slowly toward the hull of a boat, stopping just below the surface, its nose almost touching the paper's faint shadow. It hangs there for a moment, fins trembling, then dips away with a final flick of its tail. Another fish swims alongside the wake of a boat, as though following an invisible path. From your viewpoint, the stream looks like a transparent roof over a quiet, busy city. The boats drift over it all, untouched by the small, purposeful lives below. Upstream, a low tree leans over the water, its branches dipping toward the surface. The bark on its trunk is cracked in shallow, straight lines, and patches of pale lichen gather in quiet clusters. Some of its thinner branches trail close enough to brush the tops of the boats as they pass, leaving tiny beads of water on the leaves. At one point, a single leaf loosens its grip and falls. It turns slowly in the air, neither rushing nor hanging still, and lands on the stream with a sound too soft to hear, only to see. The leaf and a nearby paper boat begin to travel side by side, the leaf rotating gently, while the boat keeps its shape. The leaf's edges curl as it becomes soaked, its green deepening to something darker, while the boat stays pale and crisp for now. They drift together under the canopy's shadow, where the sunlight breaks into little moving fragments on the water. For a short stretch, they share the same path exactly. Then a slight change in the current sends the boat toward the center, and the leaf closer to the bank. A little further down, the stream widens into a gentle bend, and on the far side, a family has spread a blanket under another tree. The blanket's pattern is simple and easy to see. Wide red and white squares arranged in a clean grid. An open basket sits nearby, with the corner of a loaf of bread peeking out from a folded cloth. A child kneels at the water's edge, their knees making small dents in the grass. They have a bright yellow piece of paper, already creased in a few places, and they're carefully following the steps of folding their own boat. Their tongue peeks out slightly at the corner of their mouth, while they press each fold down firmly. When the boat is finished, they hold it up to show someone sitting on the blanket, who smiles and nods. The child places the yellow boat on the water with a careful, almost formal motion, watching closely to make sure it doesn't tip. When it begins to move, the child walks along the bank for a while, keeping pace, then eventually stops and waves as if the boat could see. The stream passes under an old stone bridge that rises in a shallow arch. Its stones are worn and smooth at the edges, fitted together so closely that only thin, dark lines show where one ends and the next begins. Moss grows in the tiny hollows, forming small, soft islands of green between pale grey surfaces. On the underside of the bridge, water stains trace thin paths like drawn lines, marking where rain has seeped for many seasons. You step up onto the bridge and look down from above. From this angle, the boats look even smaller, tiny white shapes drifting through a long, clear ribbon of water. You can see their shadows on the stream bed, moving in an exact echo just beneath them. A cyclist rattles across the bridge behind you, the sound of the tires briefly loud against the old stone, then fading away. When you close your hand around the warm railing and look down again, another small boat is just entering the shade under the arch, its pale shape dimming, then brightening as it comes out the other side. On the downstream side of the bridge, the current makes a slow, turning eddy near the bank. Leaves, tiny twigs, and bits of foam gather there, moving in a relaxed circle. One of your paper boats drifts into this gentle whirlpool and begins to turn. It makes a careful loop, bow pointing now upstream, now toward the bank, now out to the middle again. For a while, it simply rides this slow carousel, never quite leaving, never quite settling. Another boat comes in beside it, and the two spin together, sometimes close enough that their corners touch, sometimes a little apart. Around them, bubbles rise and pop softly, each one reflecting a tiny curved image of the sky. Eventually, a slight shift in the current sends both boats gliding back into the main flow, where they straighten and continue their journey as if nothing special happened. The eddy keeps turning patiently, ready for whatever next object the stream delivers. As the afternoon leans toward evening, the light over the stream warms and softens. The bright white of the sky fades to a gentler tone, and the water reflects faint streaks of pale gold. Shadows from the trees stretch longer across the surface, creating alternating bands of light and dimness that the boats pass through, brightening and darkening in a slow rhythm. Every now and then, a breeze runs along the water from upstream, roughening the surface with small, busy ripples that tap lightly at the sides of the boat. Beneath the surface, the stream bed is bright and inviting. Pebbles the size of marbles and walnuts lie scattered across the bottom, in colors that are easy to name and easy to picture: beige, gray, soft brown, a few rusty red ones. Some stones are perfectly smooth and oval. Others are chipped in small, satisfying ways that catch the light. In the shallows, sand forms thin ripples, like lines drawn with a fingertip. Here and there, a fallen leaf has settled under the water, pressed flat like a paper cutout, its veins dark and clear. The moving water slides over all of it, making the stones shimmer as though the stream is quietly breathing. When a boat glides above, its shadow travels across the pebbles, a faint ghost shape that stretches and shrinks as the surface shifts. Sometimes the boat's reflection appears more solid than the boat itself, a white, slightly blurred double floating just beneath it.